Hey, how's it going? So, little different setup here today. It's a new year, so I thought I'd do something a little new just to, I don't know, felt like I needed a little change, and so we switched it up a little bit. But as far as the content, it's going to be the same. Just me rambling, so hopefully you got a little bit of time on your hands and you can stick around to hear what I have to say. Because I do think that I'm not the only one going through some of these things, and so that's what I'm here to do, to talk about it and hopefully open up the discussion and make people feel through my own release of information to feel comfortable also doing the same, because dialogue I think is very important when it comes to these type of topics. And again, I know I'm not the only one experiencing these things. But in this one, what I wanted to talk about is something that's really been, it's been, I don't want to say bothering me, but if I'm being honest, it does bother me. But it's something that I've been struggling with, I think is the better word, for quite some time now, at least the last year or so. It's really been becoming more evident to me, and it's something that I've really, in the beginning, struggled with. Now I'm at a point where it still bothers me, but it's definitely not like it was when I first felt like it slapped me in the face. And that is that I am 46 years old and my children are growing up. My daughter, I've already been through this once. My daughter is 22, going to be 23, and I remember these feelings then, but I also still had two young boys at home, when she did graduate from high school and head off into the world as an adult herself. I struggled with it, but I still had them, and so it was like this cushion to fall back on, so I feel like it didn't affect me as deeply as it has this time around, because now all my children are, I feel like, at that stage, and it's something that I really struggle with. I'll just be straight with you, be honest with you. So I have an 11-year-old son that will be turning 12 this year in the summer, and my older son, he just turned 14 here in December, and so this year was the first year where Christmas seemed very different for us, and I know my wife feels the same way about this, and has her own struggles with it, but I realized over the holidays that we have turned a corner in our family here, and that those things that are a part of childhood, especially around Christmas, once all that changes and that dynamic changes, it's really depressing. I gotta tell you, it's depressing, because you just don't see that twinkle in their eye anymore, and I think back in previous years about how special that was, and I'm gonna miss it. But the reality is, it's gone. That twinkle was gone this year, and I think that obviously I can't be the only one that is having these type of feelings, and so I just figured we'd talk about it a little bit here, because it has weighed on me greatly over the last year. When our kids grow up, it's almost like your purpose as a parent changes, because they're no longer as dependent on you as they once were, as babies and toddlers, and just when they're younger, they need you in different ways, and a lot of that begins to change at this stage. Not to mention the physical aspects of it. I mean, I was very, as a father with my children, I was very hands-on. I did a lot for them, and I still do, but, I was very affectionate with them, always cuddling with them, always holding them, always just, I mean, all of my children have slept in my bed until they were much older, except for my third one, because by that time it gets old and it's like, yeah, you're going to be in your bed when you're at like 2 at the latest. And so we did kind of put our foot down with that, but they've all spent time in our bed. That's just, how we were as parents. We always wanted our kids around, and I've noticed that a lot of that has changed because they're getting older, and it's just not that the affection still isn't there. It's just definitely not like it used to be, where you can just grab a hold of them and snuggle them up on the couch and watch a cartoon with them, and just enjoy that time of just holding them and just being with them, and then their little voices, and my kids had little speech impediments that were very cute and I miss very much, and so I can almost hear those little voices, and it's depressing. It is. It's absolutely depressing once you know that you have crossed that line, and that all of those things are behind you, and that you will never experience them again, unless grandkids come along. Hopefully someday, and I'm still around to experience that. But for now, it's over. It's over, and I miss it. And I mean, these are just little aspects of it all. I mean, there's so much here I could talk for hours about. But another part of this is these kids are growing up very much different from what my generation did. For us, technology came along like in my adulthood, and so it's very much different for me than what it is for these kids growing up today. And to be honest with you, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And I do think in many ways it robs them of the natural wonder and just the things I remember as a child. I feel like they're being robbed of a lot of those things today through, much of this technology, and it's a constant battle, I feel like, dealing with these things, with screen time and what's the right ratio, for that and just normal things like going out and playing outside and getting dirty and building tree forts and just but the problem is that technology, it does something to them, and I've watched it quite literally rob them of those things that I found a lot of pleasure in as a child growing up. And much of that's my own fault for caving and giving in to allowing it to be that big of a part of their life. But that's just that's the way it goes. You know what I mean? It's very difficult. It's very difficult, and I recognize my own faults in it. But that doesn't take away from what I'm talking about here now, and it is that it's changed them in many ways, and it's just hard to see, but they're just growing up at different times than what we did, and I do feel that they're being robbed of something that's very special, to the development of a human being. But aside from that, that's not what this is about. This is more about just the feelings that come along with them growing up, And don't get me wrong, I love this stage as well. I mean, I feel like with these things, these are stages, and in each stage, you parent differently, and there's different things, to enjoy and to pull from. Now, like, they're involved in sports, and my older son got back into football this past year, and he had a hell of a year, and so it was great watching him thrive there. And my younger son was falling in love with soccer, and he was doing very well. And so just those things, you find a lot of joy in that, but it's still just not the same as having your little babies around, and it just changes. And I know, because we all know, because we've been there, we've been at that stage. And I remember not always wanting to be out with the family and wanting to be in my room, playing games, or talking with my buddies, or just being out running around, and so I get it. I get it, but it doesn't make it any easier to accept this change. So yeah, I mean, it's just something difficult that I am personally going through that stage right now, and I recognize that when there's over 8 billion people in the world, surely there's other people going through it as well. And like everything else with this channel on this platform, I'm here to talk about it. It helps me vent. It helps me organize my thoughts and to put them out in a cohesive type of way. And hopefully eventually this channel will pick up enough steam to where enough people are seeing it, and there can be some more interaction. I mean, I feel like that's kind of what's lacking right now, is the interaction. I know without a doubt that those parents going through this same thing are out there. It's just, at this point, not finding them, unfortunately, I think is a big part of the problem. But I mean, we're just going to keep plowing through it. This is what I'm here to do now, and I don't plan on giving up on it. And so I am very much here to stay. So, yeah, I mean, with that said, I don't want to have this video be too long. I just kind of, it's something that's been on my heart for a while to talk about. I just had such a close relationship with each one of my children. I had the opportunity to be a stay-at-home dad because I was running my own business from home, and so I was able to raise my kids literally myself. I was home with both my boys, not my daughter so much, but with both my boys, I was there. I was there from when my older son was a toddler and my younger son was born. I was at home at that point, and so I treasure the fact that I was able to be there with them through that stage of their life and to spend that much time with them, because I know a lot of people, get robbed of that as well. So I'm very fortunate and grateful for that. But in that, I felt like I had a very special connection with each of my kids when they were little, and you can just sense that begins to change as they get older and they want to be more independent, and as they mature, and just a lot of that stuff. Like I said, the whole dynamic changes, and as a parent, at least for me, as their father, it's been a struggle, to say the least. But that's part of life, right? That's part of life. That's part of raising kids, and you have to try to learn to adapt to these new elements and these new ways, and try to be there for them in different ways, which it was a lot easier then. I'll just say that. Because with the teenage years comes a bunch of drama, and we can all relate to that. So, it's just, handling things differently, and you know, trying to maintain relationships with them just in different ways, trying to be there for them but not to overstep and push them away, you know, from you. And so I feel like there's a very fine line there that you have to find and try and maneuver through as they continue to grow and you know, get older and progress into life. So anyway, that's my spiel for today. Hopefully it has reached someone out there who is feeling similar emotions, going through similar things. And if that is you, I would love to hear your story. I'd love to hear from you. So put it in the comments below, and I'll be sure to get back to you. I am Brad Casper. This is Casper's Corner, and Casper is out. Forgot this isn't touchscreen. Sorry.